Nasser, you wanted to add a comment? Or
yeah, I actually just very quickly wanted to sum it up, is that the situation here in the United States, where you have the State Department's funding into circumventing tool, is by no means any match to the amount of money that circulates in the private sector to create the other tools. And Jillian, I think it is also, it might be worth also looking comparatively in Europe how much governments spend, if any, on circumvention tools.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, I really do think that circumvention tools are fundamentally a good thing, but they're not a solution. They're not a permanent solution.
Especially that all of these things do not come with muscle. And the point is that Zayn al-Abidin bin Ali was able to get away with all these abuses and locking down the internet. The political will, just because somebody like, okay, we're going to put $5 million into circumvention tool today, that's nice. But if it's not followed by a political stick, I don't see the problem advancing. And that's, I think, the complexity here, because that's where you have the transition between the problems of censorship and internet freedom in the Middle East, fundamentally closed societies that are opening, into the issues of internet freedom and liberties in the industrialized world, in open societies. Completely different dynamic.
I want to add something about in Tunisia, among all those equipments and all those censorship machines, I could say, we can also say that there was a regulatory framework with many constraints for developing contents. You know, if you wanted a domain name, for example, you have to present with your ID, and you have to present to fill a lot of information to ITI at that time, and explain why your content, how are you going to use your contents, and who will host the contents. And you have to sign a lot of contracts to say, okay, if your content is changed and used and say something that is against the regime, how to tackle with all that. So there was a lot of constraints, and those constraints is a kind of censorship, because all Tunisians before cannot have their own websites. They cannot have their own domain names, and so Facebook in that time was, and also companies hosting websites in France or in Italy were for great importance for Tunisians to host their websites and their blogs. So I say that today is another page. I think that we have a lot of work to do, because all that is the past today, and we have a lot of work to do in order to abolish all those censorship systems. So.
You also mentioned, Moez, that censorship is back in Tunisia, but back in a very different way. Censorship is being ordered now. I would like to specify that this is censorship of all pornographic websites without listing them in the name of our Islamic value. So censorship is back through court ordering, which makes the situation much more similar to the situation that we face in Western countries, and especially in Europe, since I better know the situation there. So thus it's very important to network with this community, the CFP community, and all the digital rights community. One other conclusion that I can infer from what you discussed is that the point about Tunisia and Egypt, where the revolutions have been or were successful, is that they have, both countries have a high level of internet penetration. I know that in Tunisia, for example, 1 person out of 5 in the population has a Facebook account and use it. So this is very important rate. And despite the control, despite internet censorship, despite the taking down of different internet and communication services in Egypt, it worked. So I would conclude from this that we have to fight the digital divide, but not in the way Ben Ali wanted to fight the digital divide with the World Summit on the Information Society, but we have to fight this divide because it is also, and first and foremost, I would say, a democracy divide. The theme of this CFP this year is the future is now. For sure, the MENA future is now, finally. But the question now is, what future? Which kind of future? And from the point of view of the technology, the information and communication the technologies, the internet, social media, I would like to ask our panelists how they see this technology can contribute to a better democracy, more stable democracy on the long term in this region, or on the contrary, would this technology be detrimental to democracy? So what are, from your point of view, the requirements for this technology, and especially the way to use them? Jillian, you want to start, maybe?
Sure. I mean, so I'm gonna let my panelists more from the region actually get to the real heart of this matter, but I think that there are a couple key things that we would be remiss not to mention. One is the innovation in the region. We're not seeing the same level of innovation as, say, in China, where you actually have this plethora of tools being developed for different reasons, obviously. But we are seeing a lot of entrepreneurship and innovation in the region, creating tools, social media tools, but also lots of other different tools. So there is a lot of tech entrepreneurship. There are organizations working on this, and I think that our community would do well to learn about them, support them in any way that we can. But then there's also, I hate to even bring this up, but I feel like I have to mention it. I think that there are also barriers to entrepreneurship that are exposed externally, and one of those is the export controls being placed on Syria and Iran and other countries. For example, this is an example, and it comes from the Department of Commerce, not Google. But Syrians are restricted from participating in Google Summer of Code because of the Commerce Department's restrictions. And what that means is that young Syrians who want to take part in the open source movement and learn better coding are not able to. And so that's just one small aspect of this. There are also a number of tools that they're restricted from accessing and using, including communications tools. And Syria actually, at this point in time, I believe, has some of the most stringent restrictions upon it. And obviously these are intended to target the regime, but often they end up affecting ordinary citizens instead. But in terms of using tools for democracy, for openness, I mean, I think that there's a lot of interesting initiatives in this region, and in this area. I think that, I don't know, I still think it remains to be seen. I'm curious what Nasser and Moez have to say about this, to be honest.
I would like to, for example, for Tunisia, as you mentioned, that I think the most important thing for ITI, for example, is to say that, okay, this is the past, and we want to develop the internet. How to develop it is with all the community. So we open our doors and we discuss with bloggers, we discuss with activists, we discuss with young people, because young people made the real revolution. It's not ITI or some politics that do the Tunisian revolution. They are the youth of Tunisian that did the revolution. So to develop internet, we open our doors and we say, okay, let's have a partnership. We are ready to transform all our equipment. We are ready to open our data centers for any kind of content. We don't have any barrier, and we are open to any kind of partnership in the field of enhancing the image of internet, because we know that we cannot develop internet, we cannot attract more investors, foreign investors, we cannot develop more content if the internet of Tunisia is labeled as a center for censorship. So, for example, I will mention something that recently we signed a contract with Dailymotion, which was censored at the Ben Ali period. So it's a kind of, okay, Dailymotion was censored before, now it's hosted by ITI. And we have a kind of cooperation in order to have more SMEs in Tunisia to work with Dailymotion in that field. And we hope that other companies do the same for them. So this is a point. And another point is to say that, okay, we want to develop more infrastructure, but we don't want to maintain our censorship equipment. So if there would be a censorship or filtering for the web, it has to be done by according to the law. So we have to develop law in that field. And I say that ITI is not ready today to continue to develop those kind of equipment. We say yes to some orders coming from the military court about censorship of Facebook's pages, but those Facebook pages were inciting people to attack, our soldiers, and it's not. There is a law that. A clear law about it, but we cannot allow people to in this period of time for transition of my country to do that kind of thing. So we obey to that order, but today we are facing other orders, and we say, okay, we won't accept that, for example, pornography to be censored or to be filtered in our website, but because this is not a precise decision, it's not a precise orders. We want to be transparent, we want to be neutral, and I think we cannot trust smart filter as you explained, because smart filter is filtering a lot of contents, and it's not just pornography. And if you want to be transparent and to show to those people, okay, we filtered those URLs, for example, or those contents, we cannot do it for pornography. So that's why we made the decision to go to the appeal court. And unfortunately, the decision now, the first hearing will be the 4th of July, and we are committed to execute the order. But I explained within the lawyers, and that we have a problem, because after the Ben Ali ordered to stop filtering the internet, we stopped also investment on filtering. That's it. So and because of the bandwidth of the internet, the use of the bandwidth, international bandwidth, and our equipment is increased. So we cannot really support the traffic, the filtering the traffic, the Tunisian traffic today. So there is a problem. If you want to filter those contents, you have to accept that you decrease the quality of service of internet in my country. That's what we mentioned, and I hope that the court, the appeal court, in the 4th of July will hear our arguments, which are a technical aspect and economic also, because it is really costly to maintain those equipments, and we want better to invest on data centers for hosting more contents, for innovation, to increase innovation, to enhance innovation in my country. So it's better to invest on those.
Probably more